Sure. Well, just to, I guess, wash, rinse, and repeat in honor of Stephen K. Bannon, this morning, sort of springboarding off of Rachel Maddow's show last night, Representative Pramila Jayapal going on there talking about this concept of a resistance lab, which is probably, I would say, the most aggressive tactic, not in protest, but in color revolution and full-blown regime change that the Democratic Party and their allies are engaging in. We drilled down this morning on how the Harvard Ash Center, which is helping to carry out this initiative, is not just itself funded by USAID and the State Department, but also the individual, a they-them pronoun user who runs it, well, she herself is actually funded extensively by USAID, having lectured there repeatedly in addition to receiving funds from the United States Institutes of Peace. In other words, I think the most important takeaway, you're not talking about run-of-the-mill protests, civil disobedience, or disagreements with President Trump over policy disputes. You're talking about people who study terrorism, violent protest, and conflict to come to the conclusion that right now they might prefer nonviolent action, but that's only because they think it's more advantageous to their cause. We ran out of time, but I want to get to the sort of other side of the coin, the, I think, equally important issue with this Harvard Center, which is that it is also now, despite the fact that the web pages are deleted, so they won't tell you this now, but they're actually funded by several Chinese Communist Party-run entities, including, but not limited to, the China Southern Power Grid Corporation, which is wholly run and operated by the Chinese Communist Party. Their entire board of directors is appointed by the CCP, in addition to New World China Enterprises Project, which similarly is one of these Chinese state-owned enterprises whose board is completely controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. But this Ash Center is particularly nefarious. We've actually reported, believe it or not, 3 or 4 years ago here in the War Room on this exact institute because they were caught publishing pro-Chinese Communist Party propaganda. They put out a report called Understanding CCP Resilience, Surveying Chinese Public Opinion Through Time, where they said that Xi Jinping was, quote, as strong as ever and under no imminent threat of popular upheaval. This report was hyped by the Chinese Communist Party, saying, look how popular we are. We're doing better than the United States. And I think the most important takeaway from this, Dave, and you've obviously been around War Room probably longer than I have, but this idea, right, of elite merger as opposed to just elite compromise, but how American elites are quite envious, I think, of the powers that the Chinese Communist Party weaponizes over their people. Believe it or not, this very same Ash Center, which, like we said, is training not just Democrat activists, but members of Congress, well, they actually run, or used to run, it's now held over at Cambridge, but China's Leaders in Development program for over a decade, which was, quote, widely recognized by the Chinese government as one of the best overseas training programs for government officials, continuing their description, taught both at Tsinghua University, China, and Harvard Kennedy School. This multi-week training program is specifically designed to help prepare senior, local, and central Chinese government officials to more effectively address the ongoing challenges of China's national reforms. Some of the people that they lectured include individuals from the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps, which was actually sanctioned by the Trump administration for human rights abuses and their efforts to essentially repress the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Despite that, the same Ash Center that, like I said, is now training Democrat protesters was busy lecturing and even bringing Chinese Communist Party officials into meetings with State Department officials, members of Congress, and the FDA.